this around because although there are a couple of different pieces that it is segmented into, it is the biggest piece that I am trying to accommodate. And so I wanted to go ahead and put this on here. Now you can see if I want to do it all in one piece, since there are words on it, I do have to turn the page quite a bit, which isn't necessary if I go ahead and just make a couple of adjustments. So I'm going to go ahead and move this. Oh, also, I almost forgot the most important thing when you're using a template. Best thing you can do if you're going to trace a piece is to trace it on the opposite side of what you want to show on your finished page. So what I'm going to do is I want this main swath down the center here to be done with the words, because I feel like you'll be able to have more of an opportunity to read some of these words if we do it that way. So what I'm going to do is find some prominent words that I want to show up in that one. And we'll go ahead and just trace those on the front, and then I'll have to be really careful how I cut them out. But we're gonna just trace around like that. And then let's see, this piece. We're gonna focus on maybe the honor trust. Here. So I am kind of going against the rules here as far as cutting guides go, because you really do want to use the words that are you really want to use. I'm sorry, I keep getting distracted. You really want to trace this on the back so that when you cut it out, you don't have pencil marks. That's what I'm trying to say. I knew it would come out eventually. But because I also want to have certain words kind of highlighted, I am doing it this way anyway, and then I'll just be real careful to erase. All right. So that is our center swath. Now, just to make sure that I haven't so that I don't mess with those things, I'm going to go ahead and cut the other things from this end of my paper. But when I do that, I need to make sure I flip my template also so that everything fits. So I'm going to turn this upside down, and I'm going to, oh, no, hang on just a second. Flip this back over. All right. Sorry, this is scrapbooking in real time in Kim's mind, so it does take just a little bit. Okay, so I don't need to worry about the words for these two curves because I want them to be in the paper on the back side. So I'm going to go ahead and trace them on this side anyway, because it's not going to be critical. Because because this side of the paper is the back side for what I'm doing. So we're going to go ahead and trace this one. Some of the circle templates that we've come out with recently have circle designs that are that fit our custom cutting system, which is also a really cool thing and definitely makes cutting things out faster and less tracing involved when you can just cut the circle and have it fit. So that is a cool option if you have our custom cutting system and one of the newer templates. This one, however, the circles are bigger than what our templates would cut. So, okay, so we've got those. I need to do this one. Just being careful that I'm not overlapping anything. See, just like I did there, I kind of messed up just a little bit, but it doesn't matter because this is on the back of the piece that I'm going to be using, so it's not a problem. All right, and I just need this little piece right here. So I'm going to bring that over here and we'll do, oh, it doesn't. Again, I keep getting myself mixed up. It doesn't matter. The pattern on the other side is not directional, so I don't have to worry. All right, so I believe I need these two pieces up here though. So we'll do this one. And then this little corner is going to be okay. Best way you can do this is to keep your Creative Memories logo right here, right side up for your pieces. And since I am doing mine this way, I am going to find a word that I like that's not being used. Let's do that. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and stop the video while I cut this portion out, and then we'll be back in a flash. Okay, so as you can see, I have cut several of the pieces out that we traced before. Couple things I neglected to mention previously. One of the first things that I do when I get a template is I take the cover sheet that's on the front and I flip it over and I take the template and I trace the template using a fine black Sharpie or some type of really nicely tipped black pen or dark pen so that I have the design on the back of the cover sheet. Then I put the cover sheet back in the plastic paper that it came in and I seal it shut. And then when I store it, I store the template on top of the plastic covered sheet. That enables having this design already printed out and under plastic enables me to adhere the pieces using my repositionable adhesive as I cut them. That way I don't lose track of small pieces such as this little itty bitty triangle, which I'm going to cut out and then go ahead and put on here. So because some of these designs you'll notice have very tiny pieces in the, or if they don't have tiny pieces, what you'll also find is they have directional pieces. And so if you set them aside and think to yourself, oh, I will figure that out, I'll remember what that's supposed to be. Let me just tell you, you are a better woman or better person than I am. Your memory is much better. I just know that I will not be able to keep them straight, and I will inevitably try to put the wrong piece in the wrong spot. So if I go ahead and put them on my template like this, then I always remember which piece goes where. And when I go to adhere them to my final page, then they'll all be in the right place. So it also enables you to see that when you've missed a couple of things. So I only traced these outer rings. Now I need to trace this inside one right here. And that one I'm going to use a different paper for. I'm just going to use some scraps. And I'm thinking that probably these pieces will look really nice up against the photo that will eventually go here. The problem I'm going to have is this upper piece, because I don't have another long piece like these. So I'm going to use these two pieces and piece them together so that they fit in that space and the pattern remains constant. So let me see if I can show you how to do that. If you can see on these pieces of paper very lightly, you can see that there is a design, but the design isn't super intricate. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut one of these squares exactly through the center of the diamond point using my 12-inch trimmer. So we're going to cut that piece off, and we're going to, this piece, as you can tell, is already cut there. So I should be able to match up that piece and that piece, and then I will have a piece long enough to trace for that upper spot. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is just quickly use my my mat that I have here. I'm going to go ahead and place these. I'm going to stick them down right to my mat, because I don't have to have these exact for when I'm cutting. I just need to have them exact for when I'm tracing, and I don't want them to move around while I trace. So okay, so here's my template, and I'm going to make sure creative memories, I can read that. And then I'm going to turn my template until it is the way my design should be when I'm looking at it. Okay, so this is the way I want my, or this is where that space should be. And look at that, it is exactly, you'd think I planned it or something, right? Like I knew all along. I didn't really, I just was hoping and guessing that that was going to work. And again, I probably should have turned this over, but I didn't. So I'm going to be really careful and make sure that I just pencil these lines in lightly, and then I can erase them. That's the trick, making sure that you go back and you erase them. Okay, so that is my piece for the upper spot right here. And then each of these pieces are going to be on the side. And actually, I'm going to do like this. I'm going to flip this over, flip my paper upside down, and then that way I don't have to erase, because my paper will already be good. And when you have a straight line piece of paper that you're cutting and you have a straight line on your template, always try to line those up. It's one less cut you have to make. So so it just makes it faster by doing that. So we're going to go ahead and trace the arc on that piece. And then, and we know that this is this piece right here. And then we're going to trace the arc on this piece over on this side. And then we should be done with all of our arched pieces. which is good because, you know, templates like this, they require a fairly significant amount of what I call fussy cutting. Other people call it that too. I am not alone in that odd term. And fussy cutting just means that you have to cut it out using your scissors. You can't use a trimmer or anything fancy. And I'm going to go ahead and just do these really quick because or without stopping the video this time around. And when you do fussy cutting, these a super sharp pair of scissors with a really accurate point on them, like these that create memory cells, or you know, if you have another pair handy, those are the best for doing this type of work. Okay, so that piece goes right in there. It just fits exactly. And then this piece, we're going to just cut this arch real quick. You don't want to rush when you're cutting a template piece. You want to make sure that you're cutting it just outside the line. Or just inside the line. It doesn't really matter which way you cut it, as long as you're consistent throughout your page so that all your pieces have the same separation value between them. All right, so that's this piece. I'm going to go ahead and just put a little repo on these and stick these on here so that they stay in place and I don't get them mixed up. Then we're going to take up our pieces that are stuck to my table, cut those real quick. Okay, so there's those two. We're going to cut these two. Just going to peel that right up, wipe away any adhesive that happens to stick on the table. That is one thing, if you haven't heard me say it before, that is so wonderful about repositionable adhesive. The CM repositionable adhesive just rubs right off. If you put it on something that you don't want it on, all you need to do is just rub your finger over it and it will come right up. It doesn't leave the surface that you pulled it up from sticky. It doesn't leave your fingers sticky. You know how when you use white glue, your fingers always end up sticky? This does not do that. So definitely a plus. So there's that piece already stuck on there because there was like enough adhesive still left on the back of it that it's stuck. No need to add more just yet. I might add more though when I add it to my page. All right, just those two, and we're going to erase our pencil because drew the template on top of this page. Having a really nice eraser is essential if we're going to do a template and not draw your shapes on the back of your paper. All right, so we're going to line that up just so. Okay. All right, so now we need to do these shapes around the outer edge. And to do those shapes, I'm going to use the rest of these cool scraps that I have. The first thing I'm going to want to do are these two larger pieces. And the reason that I'm going to want to do those is because my pieces gradually get smaller. So I want to use my largest scraps on my largest pieces. And then that way I can ensure that that I have paper that's going to match my design. All right, so here's my template and here's my paper. I'm going to do one of these with this mosaic sort of tile on top. And these are going to actually turn out backwards because, again, I'm trying to trace on the back so that I don't have to erase. Okay, my crazy kids upstairs are making lots of fun noise. All right, and then we've got bricks on the back. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over and we'll cut or trace this one next to it. All right, let's go ahead and cut those out real quick. Nothing to watch when I'm cutting, huh? We could probably stop the video and could cut all this out. But I worry then that means I'm going to have to do a bunch of photo editing, which if you've watched any of my other videos with photo editing, you know I need some more practice at that. All right, so we've got this piece here. And then we're going to cut this one. If you've been following these wedding designs, you know that this matches the other layouts that I've done using the All My Love collection, which is a collection we had out a year or two ago. These pages are going in my nephew's wedding album. He's getting married soon. So those two will work for that. Now I do have these, which match the ones in the center. I will use those if I need to, but I want to see if maybe I have enough of some of these other prints that I can utilize. So we can do one of these here, one of these. Let's see, will that fit? Oh, that might not cover. Oh, it is just a little too small. So let's see if we can find a bigger piece. This is a bigger piece of that one, which we can use there. This piece, I would bet, is gonna be too small also. Yep, too small. Okay, so we would have to use this piece for that one. Okay, and then let's see. I've got this striped one with a more solid piece. So we could use this for these two outside pieces that are a little bit larger. Or we could use them, maybe we could use them for, that would take a little bit more than I think I have available. Okay, so let's do this. So we're going to, this piece is going to be this down here. Pencil. Okay, so there's that one. I have a little bit of adhesive still stuck on my page, on my table. There we go. Rubbed it off. All done. Okay, now we're going to take this piece, and this is going to be this piece up here. Traditionally, when you go to do all this tracing and cutting, there are some clips that you can use to adhere your template to a larger piece of paper to trace. But I am not going to use mine quite like that just yet. And we'll eventually get there when we go to put these pieces on our cardstock or designer paper that whichever we're going to go ahead and use as our base. Then we will adhere that and anchor it down so that it doesn't move around while we're putting all of our pieces where they need to go with adhesive to keep them there in place. Okay, so here we have one. And oh, it's such a dark piece of paper. I almost forgot which one I drew on. This one is really hard to see. Hard to trace on the dark colors. You have to hold the paper just so that you can see the glare of the pencil mark. All right, that one's gonna go there. Okay, now we need to decide on a few more pieces. I want this color, this tone to come in here because we have so much blue in here that I want that color to go. And I probably don't want to use this print because this print is going to be right up against everything. So I'm going to use these pieces and I'm going to do one in each spot. And then I'm going to use this darker orange and do these corner pieces in the darker orange. And we'll do this lighter blue in between. Sound good? All right, so let's see here. We need this one. Goes there. We need this one. Again, I'm tracing on the lighter side of the paper so that I can cut it without having to worry about erasing my pencil marks. And we need this one. This corner. I'm going to put a little R on that. That means that one's the one on the right. turn our paper just a little. The opposite side is non-directional, so it doesn't matter how we trace this. If it were directional, it would matter. We would have to be a little more careful. This is left. All right, and then this one is going to be, let's see, how are we going to fit this on here? Hoping this will fit. I think it will. Again, I'm going to use my straight side, this bottom side that's already straight, so I don't have to cut that. I'm also drawing these out on the side I want to see, so I'm going to have to erase these, but that's okay. This is right, this is left. All right. Cut these. And this is right. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video and I'll be back as soon as I've cut all of these out. Okay, so now I have all the pieces cut, but I wanted to show you something, and this was a mistake that I made, and so in an effort to try to help you not make the same mistake that I did, I took those two, do you remember these two pieces that I said I have these two little pieces of this paper that will be perfect for this, and I'll just cut those out, and I flip it over and wasn't really thinking, and I traced them and I cut them out. Well, this is how they originally turned out. Now, if this is the way that they would have worked, that would have been fine, because see, these words need to be right side up, and I didn't really think about the fact that my paper was directional. They fit going this way, but the words are going sideways, and I didn't want that. So luckily I had another piece of paper of that print, of that design, and so I went ahead and cut two more, and I was careful to make sure that my words were going the right direction, because I don't want them to be sideways or upside down. All right, so I've got my template on here, and it looks like I have just about all my fussy cut pieces are ready to go. I am going to make a mat for this area because I want my bride and groom to be able to put a nice group picture here. And so I'm going to mat this. Now, I think I'm going to use, because I've used it on another page, I'm going to use my blue shimmer paper as my base for this, my Starry Night shimmer paper, because it's light, so it's not going to add a lot of weight to the album, and it's within the color scheme that the bride has chosen. So I'm going to go ahead and use that, but so that I can offset this photo, I'm going to go ahead and cut a mat out of navy to go in this spot. This spot, as I have measured it, is not exactly a 5x7, but if I cut a 5x7 mat, excuse me, if I cut a 5x7 mat, then that mat should have a nice border to it and not be overlapping anything, and it won't look unusual because it's got a short, a slightly smaller border than the rest of the design. So I'm sorry, give me just 1 second here. I'm just pulling out some navy so that I can go ahead and cut a 5x7 frame. I'm going to move my arm out on my 12-inch trimmer, and we're going to go ahead and slide that in, and I'm going to cut a piece at 7, and cut another piece at 5, and let's see how it works. If we need to, we can always cut it smaller. But this way, if I do a 5x7 mat, she can trim, they can trim their 5x7 photo just a smidge, and it should work perfectly in this spot right here. So see how there is still going to be a little bit of a border of the base page surrounding it, not much, but just a tiny bit. And that's really all I need anyway, because I really like the dark surrounding what will be a lighter photo, because this is going to be, this wedding is in the morning and the reception is in the afternoon. So, so we're going to go ahead and go with that. All right, so let me pull out a piece of base paper and we will get started mounting this up. Oh, hang on just a second. I thought this was just going to be handy and it is not. Here we go. Whew. Another package I have to open. Just a second here. All right. So if you're familiar with our shimmer papers, they are lighter than cardstock, just a little bit, just enough to make it worthwhile to not put or to not use cardstock, but to use this instead. And like I said, I have another design that I used this same paper on the as the base for, so it should work just fine. I'm going to take this off and I'm going to move it to my base paper. And as I move it to my base paper, I'm going to use these clips that we get with our, you can order your template with these clips, which are great. And they definitely come in handy, especially when you're putting down your final pieces so that you can make sure they're in a good spot. So I'm just going to clip this in a couple places on top and a couple places on the side. I'm not going to put it on the bottom because I want access to my page without having to shift. So I'm going to clip it like that. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put this down so that, put my mat down so that I know where I'm building, what I'm building off of. So to do that, I'm going to just slide this right under and I'm going to center it the best I can on the template. Now I may have to come back and adjust that later, but for now, that will work. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to build out from there so that I can make sure that my design is nice and even. And the first one I'm going to place is this one right here. This is the one that we had to kind of piece together because I didn't have a scrap that was quite big enough. So, and I'm going to use my repositionable adhesive because repositionable adhesive is so much easier to rearrange if I need to rearrange it. And I can just put my piece in right on top of the template. If I was careful how I cut it, it should fit right in there with minimal resistance. It's my all-purpose tool to get that picked up because my fingernails are not as cooperative as I would like. All right, so I'm matching the design up here. When I take the template off, I'm going to just double check and make sure that that matches up and looks really seamless. I may need to scooch that together a little bit more. I can see a line. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and put on this next piece. When you do use your repositionable adhesive on a piece that's pointy like this, make sure you go all the way to the tip, because that's another one of the beauties of repo adhesive, and that is that you can go all the way to the tip of a piece, and it won't affect, you won't have like a bunch of extra adhesive, but it will go ahead and glue down those corners nicely for you, which is something that you fight if you use another type of adhesive. So it's one of the reasons why we all love this adhesive so much. Okay. And with these little tiny pieces up here, I'm just going to make sure that my template comes up and over them and just smooth them out, because I'm going to be lifting this template up and down quite a bit. I don't want these to pull off because they were not quite within the boundaries of my design. I'm just going to work my way around, and we're going to get this stuck on here. Again, picking it up just to make sure I'm not going to tear it. I know that this video is long, and I do apologize for that. You're always willing, or it's always possible for you to fast forward it if you already understand this part and don't need to make it along with me. That's totally fine. Be my guest. I try to do this scrapbooking in as much real time as I can, so you have an idea how long it takes to put together a design, and you're not looking at this and thinking that you should be faster, or that you can get it done in 20 minutes and then surprise, it takes an hour and a half, So templates designs do take just a little bit longer because of the intricacies involved in following the pattern. If I was doing a design on my own, then I would not be so worried about making sure that I was on task or on target with every piece that I'm laying down. So do you have someone in your life who has recently gotten married or is planning to, that you could make an album like this for? It's really fun to be able to share your talents and make something that is going to be really special for someone else. That's what memory keeping is all about, right? We help to keep memories alive in people's hearts and minds. So you can see how that circle is shaping up. It's getting more defined every time we do another layer. really helps by putting the template on your base paper. You can make sure that all these pieces go exactly where they're supposed to be. And you'll be more happy with the way that the end design turns out. How everything is lined up when you take the template off. It's done with our circle. This is a long piece, so you have to put adhesive all along the long pieces so they don't pop up and then in an unexpected spot. One more piece for that circle. And we can do the starburst that goes around the outside. All right, there's that. Now we're going to start working our way around the edge here of this little starburst. If you're using the All My Love collection and you're wondering where this pattern came from, this is one of the mat cards that I cut up to use. Because the colors all match in the collection, you can use any part of it for anything that you want to, which is really convenient, really nice, really helps your design all come together. I need to lift up my pattern for a minute real quick to make sure I'm not stuck to anything here. Yeah, that's what I suspected. A couple that are a little bit close. All right, there we go. Now, you might have noticed that I am going to have a little bit of a mess on my template plastic over here, but because I used repositionable tape, that mess that is all of the extra stickiness that's still stuck is all going to come right off. All I need to do is just rub it down with my fingers and it'll all come right off. Again, the magic of the repositionable adhesive. So that if you need to pick something back up and lay it back down, you can. I'm going to switch this clip over to this side because I need a little more access to this side now. There we go. Let's see if you can hear my children upstairs. They forget that I'm down here sometimes, and then they make all kinds of strange noises. They're teenagers. What can I tell you? All right. 4 more pieces. I know it's taking a little bit, but if you're still hanging in there watching, It's almost done, and then we get to embellish, which will be fun. So this piece. This is another one of my directional pieces that I had to cut twice because I cut it wrong the first time. Very lucky that I still had enough paper that I could cut it again. One more. Now we're going to lift off the template so that we can take a look and see if, or see how our mat looks, if we need to adjust that at all. So we're going to go ahead and remove these, because all of our pieces are adhered. Be careful if you haven't lifted it up, like I haven't lifted it up on this upper part. Make sure I'm not taking pieces off. All right, there is the page with our mat. The mat looks pretty good, but I think I am going to adjust it just a tiny bit. Sometimes it's hard to see where to put it with the template in the way. So we're going to just up just a little bit. Make sure that we can see that base blue all the way around. Let me stick it back down. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to adjust these pieces up here just a smidgen. Because I don't like the way that that is coming together. That's better. I still feel like I can see it, but that's me, maybe. Okay, so now what we're going to do is go ahead and take some of these flowers that we have up here and arrange these around this curve. Now we've got various leaves and bauble type things. There's some more leaves, a little bit more pokey kind of leaves, more berry kind of ish things. We've got bling, if we want to use bling, some more berries, some more straight themes, some more bling. Okay, so these are the flowers that we have to work with. We've got 4 white ones, 3 blue ones, 2 of that kind of rosy beige, and 2 of the darker red. Okay, so focal flowers are usually your biggest ones. And since we have 3, we can put them in each end of our design like that. The white one in the middle because it is the odd man out, right? Then we can kind of play with the rest. So let's see. We're actually gonna add one of these white flowers first, since we have some darker colors towards the edge of our design. I'm gonna put the white more towards the edge, and maybe this beigey color, and the red, We've got a blue and another white and a yellow. So let's do the yellow and the blue kind of like that. And I don't know if I'm going to add in this white, but we could maybe put it up here to draw our eye a little more, a little higher on the page. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and add our greenery. Let's see, or our leaves. Got a lot of white leaves, which would actually work well on this since this is a wedding page. Or these aren't really leaves, these are more like berries. But we could certainly use these. Kind of stick in there, here and there. You notice that the flowers kind of move around a little. That's okay, they can do that. It's not a big deal. We're playing with this right now. So you just kind of work your way through, adding a little here, a little there. Could add just a little bit of green or a little bit of blue. I already have blue in the flowers, so I think I'm gonna just maybe focus on adding a little more green. I'm gonna stick those in here in the center, kind of under this main flower. I like to just leave my embellishments just flat until I've got my design and I know where I want to put things. And then I go back and pop those elements up with some foam squares once I know for sure where I want them. That's a lot of flowers, but you know, it definitely adds to the page. So once you have them lifted up a little bit more, you can see more of the design of the paper underneath. So I'm going to grab my foam squares and we're going to, just like we did before, we're going to put the large features down first. Sometimes with these elements, you'll notice that there's a piece that's not popped out. So I just poked my fingernail into it so that I could pop it right out. I'm gonna stick this guy right there. Another reason for using a foam square, in addition to lifting it off the page, is I can put this flower kind of over my mat just slightly, like you can see it here, but that's not going to impede the person who's putting the photo down from sliding a photo underneath that flower, because there's nothing, these aren't glued, so they can slip the picture right behind it and it's not a problem. So we're going to use some repositionable tape for this guy just in case we decide we want to put him in another position. Another foam square for this guy. Careful with your big foam squares. Sometimes you can see them through your element. You don't want to do that. And you have to trim it just a little, which gets a little tedious. There's that little piece that I popped out. Come on, get out. There we go. Okay. These foam squares are so awesome because they are double-sided, so you can play with them. You can put them on here and then move them around before you remove the second side of the adhesive if you want. Let's see, I think we had that sticking up there so that we could put this guy underneath. You want to make sure that if it's a bauble or a leaf that it goes underneath, because your focus really, you want your focus to be your flowers. So sometimes my nails just are not helpful. Get in there. Oh no, you can squeeze in there just a little more. Actually, you know what? So another good rule of thumb I have found through experience is to work from your edges in, but since I've already done this edge complete to here, I'm going to go ahead and start from this side and work my way in. That way I can center my center flowers a little bit better, so I don't end up with a few here or there that are off. Oh, out of repositionable adhesive. So we'll get another one here. Go. All right. And we're off and running again. I want you to go under there just a smidge more. Okay, so like that, maybe. Okay. We are almost done. Fun times ahead. kind of acts as a camouflage. So really, if you cut certain pieces of your template, maybe just off a tiny bit, then you don't have to worry as much because you can cover them up with embellishments. All right. So we're almost to the center again. We just have these two flowers more. Take the adhesive off of both of these as I just decide where they need to go. So I'm gonna just lay those out right in there like that. And we have these two leaf clusters. Come on, go on in there. Get up. Don't mind me. I like to talk to myself sometimes. Somebody, I think it was my grandma, used to say that the only time you have to worry about talking to yourself is when you start answering yourself. Okay, so that works. Now, the only other thing that we might want to add to this page, aside from maybe some sparkles, although this page has some foil on it, so we might not really need any additional bling necessarily. But we might want to add like a title to it. And so let me see, I don't have a whole lot of stickers left, but I do have this cake and the rings that say no longer two but one, which we could put down here in the corner, or we could just leave it like it is and call it good. Another thing we could do is look at one of our mats that says, this one says, my heart is and always will be yours, which we could cut out and put on there. Or we could use this one that says, you're my home and greatest adventure all at once, which is kind of cool and would really look nice color-wise. We put that down here in the corner, maybe with a sticker or two. I think I'm gonna go with that. So let me get my trimmer here. We will cut this. You'll notice that our mats are double-sided, so it's got the same saying here in a full size, but if you turn it over, it's a little bit smaller, which I love because then we can make it whatever size we want to and trim it just a hair if we need to. So that we can use it as a title. That would snug right up underneath there and kind of stick out into the border just a hair. And then we can use some little flower stickers near it. We can use the roses or the daisies that I have left. So let's go ahead and put that on. I like that. Then the bride and groom can choose a nice 5x7 photo to go on this page. And I'm just going to put it about equal distance from the bottom of my design and the edge of my paper over here so that it's centered. It looks like I planned for it to go there, right? We're going to do a couple of flowers, and we're going to do this little heart right here because I love it. It's super cute. And again, you're going to make a cluster, so make sure your stickers touch each other so that you can make them cluster together. Put that sticky on there. Don't be afraid to cut your foam squares to fit what you're trying to pop up either. If your little sticker that you're trying to put on or little embellishment is just a little on the small side, just go ahead and cut it with your scissors. Make it a little smaller. This is, a paper craft. You can cut it however you desire. All right, so there's my little title and cluster, and I do believe we're finished. So I hope you enjoyed crafting with me today, and I hope that you will keep creating, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video. Have a great day.